And we are live. I've always wondered why people say that to an audience. We are live. But if you saw the number of buttons I've had to press to get you to being live, you would know why I'm saying, guys, we are live. And Mike's going to start the theme tune. Hi, guys. Welcome to another Production Hour. You may know that I do a weird way of planning these shows. And I've got a confession to make about something which we all like to not talk about. But we're going to talk about it today. It's those two horrible little words. AI. Because AI is really still very artificial. But because I had nothing better to do a couple of hours a day, I just thought I would give this AI a spin and see what I can do. Now, my theory is that this AI works on 3 levels. And so in this show, I'm going to share with you some of the things I've tried to get it to do and some of the things it really doesn't do a good job at. The first one is AI is a pattern matching system. It's not clever. It's not intelligent in any way. It's all totally fake. I mean, somebody may pull our brains apart one day and tell us that our ideas are fake too, but let's not go down that one. We don't want to be here all weekend, do we? But AI is artificial. It's pattern matching. And I keep telling people it's pattern matching because of one really important thing. If you remember it's pattern matching, you are much more likely to understand when AI is going to be good for you and when AI is going to be an absolute pain. It matches patterns. So research, going and collecting a lot of data from disparate places, and crikey, we worry about some of the disparate places that our AIs go, but it is good at doing that. So if you're using it as an intelligent search engine research tool, that to me is a good use of AI. But it's not clever. It doesn't have any opinions whatsoever. It just pulls together opinions of everybody else, and that makes its answer. It's pattern matching. Did I mention that it's pattern? Yeah, I think I did. And I will keep doing it, and I make no apology. That's where it is strong and useful. So let's go to the other extreme. There are some of you out there, some of my friends as well, who are doing this thing called vibe coding, which to me means I haven't got a clue what coding and programming is about. But apparently, if I just tell an AI tool that I want a scheduler for my personal grooming, it can make one for me. I can have a complete app. I could put it on my phone. If my phone was actually with me and not on the desk over there, I could have a personal grooming app. Wow, isn't AI clever? No, it's still pattern matching. It can't write you an app for anything at all. But what it can do is it can go out to the internet and steal all the ideas around what you've asked and squash them together in a bit of research and fool you into thinking it's just written an app for you. I'm sorry if that's bad news for you guys. And I'm terribly sorry if you think that you're going to make money out of AI. I've been looking at various things at that extreme. And I'm going to use my favorite example, which Mike is probably bored to tears of now, which is my PowerPoint control app, which is absolutely super. And it allows me, I've got a Stream Deck here on a very long USB cable. It allows me through this Stream Deck to control PowerPoint running on another machine. I can move forwards and backwards slides. I have to remind myself that Mike told me I needed a feedback button to tell me which slide and which document I'm loading, because I can actually program it to load multiple slide decks and run each one at a time. I can go to a particular slide. I can program all those buttons. Wow, isn't that amazing? I think I may have the most sophisticated slide control software out there. I probably don't, but in my little head, I do. But do I think that my AI was clever enough to write this for me? No, of course I didn't. I knew there were apps that happened in PowerPoint that could control slides. That's why I asked it to write one for me, because I knew there was code out there. In fact, I even knew, because I checked it first, that in GitHub, there was code openly available. So if I gave the AI some nudges in the right direction, I could get it to go to GitHub, find the apps that are already there, and then do its pattern matching. Did I say it does pattern matching? And it could then produce me my version of the app. And then, of course, I sent it off to Elgato's website to look at code for Stream Decks. And I then told it I wanted it to create Stream Deck buttons for me. It still has no intelligence. It's pattern matching, guys. But its pattern matching gave me some buttons. They're really badly designed, so I hate to think who they came from. But anyhow, it does do what it says on the tin. And then I even got it to talk to a Zoom Workplace app, which again, I got some examples off the internet. Are you getting the idea? I got some examples off the internet, and instead of letting it go everywhere, in which case it comes back with absolutely useless code that never works because it just gets confused, I got it to pattern match a particular app that I had, pulled it in, and guess what? It did that bit as well. And what happened last night? Last night at about 2 a.m., because all this stuff is going around in my head. I don't usually get to sleep until 4. It was 5 today, 5 a.m. Yeah, it's not good for your health, is it? But I came up with a question to myself. What if I put my speaker's notes into the PowerPoint notes? Okay, there's nothing clever about that. But what if I could then extract those notes and maybe put them on a screen, maybe teleprompter style or something like that? What would that do? What could that do? Well, the question is more, first of all, does AI know that it's possible? Well, apparently it is, according to AI. I asked it, can I get my app in PowerPoint to read the notes? And it said I could. And this is where, Tony from Seattle, pay attention. This is where things could have gone really badly wrong. Because here's an example of why AI is stupid. Because AI said to me, oh, yes, John, we can get your slide and we can pull up the notes and we can make them appear on the screen. Oh, that's wonderful. And then I thought, wait a minute, I know some people who like to run a show embedding into their PowerPoint slides. So I said, okay, so could I put a command at the beginning of each note on each PowerPoint slide so my AI could then instruct something else to happen? Like maybe I want some slides to be on the screen, and because I can't get Mike to turn up to every single webinar I do, maybe he doesn't know how many I do in a week. He thinks he only looks after 2, but I do a lot more. Anyhow, I sidetracked there a little bit, but supposing I want PowerPoint slide deck, the PowerPoint slide deck should have a command in there to do things like play a video or change my camera angle because I've got more cameras now. I've got one over there and I want to show off the geeks. You'll like this one. I've got one where I've still got the controls on. Anyhow, maybe I want to add those commands to my system. And this is where AI went completely wrong. Because AI said it was possible. And it is. But I described a scenario where I might want to go to a slide. And on that slide, I want my notes so I can read them. But I want to be full screen on the camera. AI wasn't clever enough to realize that I'd have to go onto the new slide before it could read the commands to then execute the commands to make the slide disappear. So what I'm trying to say to you is it wouldn't work. To make it work, you have to put the commands to tell it what's going to happen on the next slide so that your app can prepare the action on your next slide. AI didn't see that. It was obvious once you went through the process. As a slightly intelligent being, I could see that within 20 seconds. 4 more conversations with the AI, and I'd given up trying to persuade it that it was doing it wrong. I just thought, this is a pattern it can't match. So that is the framework for 2 out of the 3 uses for AI. You want to do research? Fantastic. That's just what it's built for. It's good at pattern matching, by the way, if you hadn't heard before. And option 3, it is good for programming, but only when there is software out there that it can pattern match and take examples for. So I've actually been spending the last 6 months teaching my AI how my apps work so that it can help me code them. And now it reasonably, in some cases, but mostly in others, understands how my apps work. I can spin off variations. I can make subtle small changes to those apps really quickly. Because rather than me trying to remember where the bit of code is in the system and then which page of the code it is that does a particular thing, or trying to remember the name of the function so I can search for it, I can just throw the problem at the app and then just walk away, and it will go and find those things because it does pattern matching, and it will then make the change for me. And what's really cool is that simple changes like that don't need a top of the range AI. So I now have an AI that runs in situ in my computer over there, which means it costs me nothing in billing charges from the AI people. But today, we are more interested in the things in the middle. Because I'm using AI increasingly to do my production organization, organizing events, organizing the content events, pulling it all together. Because there are plenty of events and theories and subjects that it can go and pattern match and pull together for me. And then it organizes a nice document. I can have a conversation with it 2 or 3 times, changing the document, adding things, taking things away, Our entire schedule for the next, I don't know how many I put up now, 10 weeks was all built by me and AI this morning in about an hour and a half. In fact, I even managed to go away, and Mike will be pleased to know, I managed to get it to go away and start building on my cartoon image for the pictures to go over the descriptions and the images on the event site, and hopefully to go over YouTube as well. And it still just about keeps within my cartoon style. So that's great. And when you're short of things to do and you want to play around with what your subjects are for your next events, if you're responsible for that, AI is really quite useful at that. And it's also good at producing documents. It can produce PowerPoint slides for you as well. There's a plug-in to PowerPoint. So if you want to make them into summary slides, you can do that. Of course, our Zoom product, which we don't mention too often, but we do now and again, has its own version of slides now, and you can do the same thing with that. And you can do it with Google Slides as well if you want to. You can create the AI and then make the slide deck up. That slide deck could be example slide deck. It could be a slide deck to help you to run the show. You could use it for your confidence monitor. You could use it for your production team so they know where they all are. And you can pull this all together really quickly with AI. AI is becoming useful for those sort of things. But you can also take it to one more level. When your AI works, you can make something like a summary. Now, I use PowerPoint as a Trojan horse to get you to think about what can I do with the documents after. But if you really want to keep AI interested in what you're doing, you need to make something called a markdown file. Now, a markdown file is just a file with a load of information in it, but it's in the format that AIs like to read. Zoom have helped me with some of my Zoom development because they've switched quite a few of their development documents into AI versions. So I can point my AI at that particular document and ask it to do something in the Zoom world with much more success than if I leave it to pattern match the entire internet and it wanders off and goes and finds somebody's bit of example code, probably 3 or 4 years old, and never worked properly in the first place. Instead, I can direct it to content which I know works, I know is about what I want to speak, and it's therefore better at getting that information. I was looking at some graphics of some lower thirds. I saw a graphic lower third I liked. I took a screen capture photo of that, gave it to my AI, and for my lower thirds app that I have, well, I'm sure we've all got lower thirds apps now, haven't we? I expect we all have. But my one sat down and it wrote me a lower third plugin, produced similar graphics, and then told me I could make it better because it's got this superior feel about it at the moment this week. Maybe it's the update, or maybe it's just my AI getting ideas above its station. But what it does mean is that organizing things is really cool. And putting them to Markdown is really important for this reason. You can't trust your AI's memory. It's getting better. It calls it the context. And most AI tools do a pretty good job. But there are 2 places where this whole thing falls down. Actually, there's probably 3. There's always 3 in everything I do. But the first where it falls down is the obvious one. You come back to something that you were talking to about with your AI a week later. You don't know how much of its context memory has been retained on that subject. you don't know what it's remembered and what it's forgot. It might have forgotten something which for you is critical. But if you don't mention something regularly with an AI, that tends to fall down to the bottom of its memory, and that tends to fall off the bottom. The other problem is you may be dating a few different AIs. Come on, we've all done this. You know, try another one just to see if they're any good. So how the heck is one AI going to have the same conversation as a previous AI? And I'm not going to get 3 points because I just mashed the 3 into 2. But it doesn't matter because the point is still the same. If you have a conversation with your AI and you want to make reference to this idea in the future, ask it to build you a markdown summary of what you've just been talking about, and it'll put all the facts in there. And you've got 2 things which you can do. Oh, that's where my third idea came in. Firstly, you can use the markdown to check the data that it's got to make sure that the things that it is remembering are the things you wanted. That's point number 3. I knew there was a point number 3 buried in this speech. So now you know what it's tried to remember and why. You can then take that document, and if you go back in 3 months' time to that AI, you can remind it of all the things by giving it that markdown document and saying to it, remember we had a chat about X, here's the summary which you gave me. So you're now nudging it. This is what you need to be talking about. Doesn't preclude it from it trying to grab vague memories it has from the past, but you've now given it a document to work on, and you can now continue your conversation and talk about whatever you were talking about in more detail, maybe going to the next stage of production or whatever, or using the data. You could also, though, you can take that markdown file and you can give it to that other AI you're seeing on the side. It now has the context of what you had the conversation for before, and it now can give you information. I'm actually double dating AIs now. I'm consciously double dating AIs. I will quite often ask ChatGPT about something, and then I will ask Uncle Claude, because Uncle Claude's a nice guy, but he's an expensive date, so I don't want to ask him everything. But I might take something I've built around a conversation with ChatGPT, and then I'll turn it into a summary, and I'll give it to Uncle Claude. Or I might ask ChatGPT or Claude, or I've got a llama as well. If you don't understand the names of all these AIs, don't worry. It just means I'm spreading myself around multiple AIs because they all have different backgrounds and come up with different answers. But I might take one of these AI conversations and then I'll go into my coding app and I will give the suggestion for a bit of code into my coding app. And then my coding app with its AI will then take that document and process that as well. So I've got a reasonable, I think, reasonable conversations going now with my AI tools. And this is allowing me to have an idea of what my AIs can do. And I see Roland has dropped in. He's done the proper thing. Roland has dropped in and he's now waving at me from the audience. Do we dare even ask him what he's got to say? Well, the answer is, yeah, why not? Why not? Mike, can you unmute Roland and see what he wants to contribute about this AI thing, pattern matching down there in Jamaica? And of course, I need to mark my notes so I know where I've got up to already before he distracts me with some amazing new question. No, we're not getting anything out of him. Maybe he doesn't want to speak. Maybe he's just showing off that he knows how to raise his hand, which is what Mike's been asking you to all do on your YouTube. Roland, how is it down there? No, he's not interested. Okay. That's fine. I was hoping he was going to have something interesting to throw in there, but never mind, he doesn't. But I know somebody who does, because he's always got something to say about these things. And he's been laughing at my double dating AI, so I'm pretty sure he's been cheating on his as well. Mike, Mike Latter, how are you? And you and your team, I know you use AI, but
yeah,
how are you?
Yes, we
Are
do.
you using it for production and things? Would you like to report back for us?
Of course. Have I been double dating? Okay. I did raise my hand in chat, and that's the reason I did what I did. And I haven't seen anybody else raise their hand yet, so nobody else is double dating. Interesting. On YouTube. Interesting. You can't rely on one, as Johnny's been telling you. There's reasons that Johnny goes between one and the other. And same here. There's reasons between I'm at least double dating. Officially, I'm trying them all, but I'm officially double dating. When it comes to productions, this could be done in so many different things. Anything that used to be manual in the regards of show notes, in the regards of, Tony says, well, not double dating, but perhaps in the friend zone with more than one. All right, friend zone. Interesting. So it's cash. It's very cash right now, Tony, is what I'm hearing. That's hilarious. That's good, Tone. We like that one. That fits the tone right now. So when it comes to production and AI, absolutely. So you could actually do, your timeline for the event, have ChatGPT or Gemini or whoever you're in the friend zone with, tell you, this is the event I'm going to be working at, get me the high level information so that when I prepare myself to meet with the client, that I know that already I've got some notes with me that make me look educated to the client, that I know what their event is going to be all about and what services I already got ahead of time in my brain. I can actually be able to offer them that would fit the event that we're going to be potentially bidding for / working at.
Yeah.
One example. Another example, spreadsheets. When it comes to making sure that you budget properly for the actual event itself, have your favorite AI that you're in the quote unquote, I like that, friend zone with, make you your spreadsheet of the gig information, meaning that all the different, so now that you've looked at the event, now tell the AI that you're in the friend zone with to make a spreadsheet of all the gear that you have that you'll possibly need and what the actual pricing could be for each unit, so that you properly, when you're ready to price the gig out to the client, you have all the information there. On the hardware level, you could actually, if there's any hardware that has capabilities of doing templates, audio mixers, video equipment, video software, audio software, if they all have capabilities, such as John had been talking about, Zoom AI, Zoom doing the APIs or SDKs, if there's any such functionality that any of the production hardware that you use allow you to template, get AI to do that, but tell AI what you're going to be doing. I'm going to be having a perfect example. Here's an audio mixer template, but I need to set up the compressor template. I need to make a compressor template for XYZ audio mixer. And it's going to be a compressor that's used on a microphone for a drum, a bass drum. So I need to make sure that you give me the right compressor settings for that template for the audio mixer. So now for the proper firmware of that audio mixer so that I can now import that in and try it and see how close I get. Perfect example. I did such recently with my ATEM Mini Pro. I actually told Gemini AI, believe it or not, that I wanted to be able to tweak my audio settings in my Fairlight part of the audio mixer in my ATEM Mini Pro. And I said, okay, I want to be able to now, instead of Zoom controlling my, turning on the room so that it's understanding the room noise, I gave Gemini the information of my room noise level is usually at this dB. And I need you to actually give me all the Fairlight settings for my voice and give me the proper information for the compressor, limiter, gate, or whatever you need me to use in Fairlight, so that now I have full control within the actual ATEM Mini Pro for my audio. And I've been using that now for a week and a half now. And I've gotten a lot of compliments in the regards of, I could tell that things are different when I'm actually in all the different products of Zoom, Teams, WebEx, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because now the ATEM Mini Pro is doing my audio processing for me, not those products with all their different algorithms. So again, templating is easy for AI to do because it can go out, get the information, make sure, again, very important, like John was saying, make sure that you tell it what firmware you're actually running on the equipment. Very important, because it will give you information on the older firmware. So always remember that. Make sure that you tell it that this is the equipment that I need you to do it on, and I'm running this X firmware on this equipment. Give me the proper information. It will either it'll give you the older information and double check with it to make sure that you've actually given it that you're getting the proper firmware. And it'll go, oh, sorry, no, that's wrong. And it'll go out, get the latest information to see if there's any changes in the latest firmware. Might be, might not be. We all know that the ATEM Fairlight stuff has changed recently. So I did make sure to tell it that I'm running X firmware to make sure that it actually understands that properly. And now you're hearing me with those tweaks as we speak.
Yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves. These are all sort of minor little things that we could just as easily do last year. It's just the fact that if you can send an AI to do it all for you, you're going to save yourself some time. Well, hopefully you're going to save yourself some time. It comes out with decent information. I'm starting to think of AI as a paid assistant, because I'm paying it, aren't I? It's fees, I'm paying it. So I'm only giving it jobs where I think I'm going to get payback. And if I want to do a job where I'm not going to get payback, my local version, it doesn't cost me anything apart from the electricity, which is it's a pretty good tool. I mean, I'm lucky because I've got production equipment, we have some pretty decent graphics cards, don't we? And of course, with a decent graphics card, you've got the ability to run pretty decent AI models because it's got plenty of graphics processing power. And I've been really surprised on how, quickly. They always say, how many tokens a second can you process? But at the end of the day, it's how quickly can you get a response back? Okay, the top models online that cost a fortune do come back the quickest, but they've got great big resources behind them on the internet, sitting in a cloud somewhere, bobbing around, loads of memory, loads of processing power. There are some AIs that claim they can run on a phone. Okay, good luck to that. But it's never going to do anything interesting for me. My Mac Studio has 32 gig of unified memory, and it's quite good at processing. And I was quite impressed with that until I realized that I could squeeze an AI on my Windows machine while I was coding. And because the AI and the coding are in the same box, there's no one box talking to another box and being limited by the connection between the two. So it was an immediate jump in processing. Immediately, I don't know what the tokens per second mean, so I can't say that, but I was getting answers in 2/3, even half the time. It was processing answers better. So I've got 3 generations now of AI. I've got on the cloud Clever Dick ones, which are really quick. I've got squeeze them in if you can, AI on the same machine as the machine I'm working on. And then I've got a remote server down a cable, down the internet, just on the local LAN really, but that's still a slower connection. Because after all that trouble in trying to get all the AI to work efficiently in a box, I then give it a little LAN cable to go and chat with the other end. And that means every time it wants to process something from one end to the other, it's got to download the information and send it down that pipe. And that really does slow things down. Once it gets started, it's quite good at processing the data, but it's getting the information to it in the first place that slows it down and makes it inefficient. So running an AI locally in the machine that you are working in is an efficient and quick and, I believe, quite a good way of working. Of course, if you start to get to the point where I just got all these markdown files about everything and his wife, and I probably need an AI to go and organize them for me sometime. But if I have those markdown files on the computer, which I'm working on, again, it's very quick in processing it because the data's there. And we haven't even got to RAG yet. I'll just mention it. I'm not going to go into any detail. We've only got 20 minutes left, and it would take another 2 hours for me to even explain what I know about RAG, which is not much. But let me just give you an inkling of where you can take this. Because from what we've been speaking about so far, we have an AI which is supposedly clever at pattern matching and processing data. And then at our next level, we've been able to create markdown documents, which are AI compatible summaries of stuff that we want it to know about, remember, or use later. But there is another level in AI. And quite a few people will call it RAG. For those that wish to remove technical words, this is what it is. Whenever you ask an AI to do something, you give it a prompt, whether it's a few words or pages of words. You give it some prompts. And the first thing it has to do is make sense of what you've just asked. And it converts what you've asked into maths, basically, numbers. We don't care. It just converts them into numbers. But what we do care about is the fact that that process, it's not even thinking yet. All it's trying to do is understand what you said. And it can take some time. And therefore, you've got a delay before it even starts on the question that you've asked it. You don't notice it so much on online systems, but if you're running a local system, quite often you will see it doing its thinking or its processing. And so it starts by turning into a jumble of maths what you've asked it. Because, Mike, did I mention anything that is not intelligent and it does pattern matching? Because what it then does is it takes that mass of numbers it's got now, and that's what it uses to pattern match out everywhere else. And where it goes to is not the internet always. It goes to its knowledge bank, its brain. And its brain, just to burst your bubble, is just a collection of stuff it's got from places, which it's already turned into maths. So it takes what you've asked it, which it's turned into maths, with what it's already learned, which is turned into maths. And that's how it pattern matches. That's why it's artificial. Artificial. Forget the word intelligence. It's artificial. Okay, so how can we make this better? Well, if you use a system like RAG, and I can't even remember what the acronym is because I'm so disinterested in it, but the principle is, if you have that knowledge, which we created as a markdown about something, you can give it to an AI and it can RAG it, if that's even a verb, and turn it into maths. So the maths is there already. When you then ask a question, and I'm running out of places on the screen now I can point at, so let's try and think about this. You ask it a question and it has to turn that question into maths. If your background markdown knowledge is not a markdown file that has actually been created into maths already, then when this question has been asked, it's turned into maths, but it doesn't have to turn your knowledge into maths because that's been done already. It doesn't have to turn its own intelligence into maths because that's happened already. Hopefully, I'm explaining this quite well because I did see somebody with an emoji floating up the screen. If your knowledge is in maths, the AI knowledge is always in maths. It's taken one step out of the processing. And this is what happens when you say you've got your own LLM, you've got your own large language model. In other words, you've taken your knowledge, which you've put into AI markdown format, and then you've got the AI to turn it into its maths knowledge into an LLM. That data then is far more quickly used by your query than if it had to take all that stuff, find all those documents, then convert them into maths, and then compare them, and then find they didn't even answer the question. That is the nirvana, which I will dare to get to by the end of this year. So you need to organize what you're going to do with your AI. And then you need to build out your systems, your processes into AI markdown files. And a lot of people call these the standard operating procedures. So I'll take an example similar to what Mike talked about. I'm sure you have a process of how you go through the whole process of from somebody tells you they want an event to actually you turning up and delivering the event. There's going to be all the different processes you've got to do on the way, getting the equipment, finding out the information about the event, organizing all the people you need for the event, organizing all the checklists and the information for the showrunners to know what's happening and controlling it all. I'm sure you've got a process. But just think how inspired you would be if you could teach that process to your AI and then tell it, this is my standard operating procedure for running an online event, or this is my standard operating procedure for planning a virtual event, or this is my standard operating procedure of working out how I do an event at a particular venue. If you've got all the facts and the questions that need to be asked for that standard operating procedure to work in a human form, but written down. You can teach that to your AI, so it creates a markdown for that. You can then give it to, and it doesn't even have to be the same AI, as we're all double dating, we've all confessed that. You can give that to an AI and say, this is my standard operating procedure for running my online events. I've got an event planned for next week, and we need to produce whatever it is the standard operating procedure produces. And then you can get the AI to ask you the questions in that SOP, standard operating procedure, that you've just given it as a markdown file. And it can then go through the question. So you've given it the instructions, and it is now questioning you about the event. So guess what? You are now the expert, and it is now just processing a set of questions and extracting the data from you, the expert, not the mad internet who could do it in any way you don't know. And you can build your SOP based upon the customer that you're representing when you answer the question. Just waiting for a moment to see if anyone's going to go, wow, that's cool. No, maybe they're not. But showing that this is live and we link together with things, if I wanted any process to be done for me, I always start with a standard operating procedure. So if just Hot Wheels, welcome, I wanted to create an app, I would do what I said earlier. I would give it an example of the sort of app I want to write. And I would then ask it to use that as its template and produce me the app. And I might even ask it to produce the app by giving it a great big, well, you can talk to them as well. It saves the typing. You can't type fast. But I can either describe what the app does, and I can just give it to it, or I can describe what the app looks like and leave it to go and wander around the internet and find something that's similar and then come back with the answer. Or I can do what I quite often do for my apps, which is I will literally walk it through how the app works, and we'll do one piece after another. We'll do the login screen, and then we'll do the welcome screen, and then we'll do the dashboard, and then we'll talk about what information needs to be loaded into the app, and we'll talk about the settings screen. And I will walk through the app stage by stage, because I don't want it to go off the internet and borrow somebody else's system, which is not the one that is in my head. And the quality of code you get is sort of proportional to the amount of money you pay for the app AI creator. So if you run a local app creator, like, or should we name drop a few? So Qwen is quite a good app for running local coding. You need a reasonable size graphics card, so it's got some space to work in, but Qwen Coder works quite well. If you're going to use an online tool, then you might use a Claude or a Gemini. There are versions of these which are experts in coding and don't have all the other expertise in everything else, which are sometimes better to choose. And if you use a more recent one, it's probably going to be better, and it's probably going to cost you more. But whether you're programming a piece of software, oh, by the way, if you've ever got a little tool, like I always get fed up when I do all this mucking around with stuff, I can end up with lots of, well, not broken files, but you know what I mean? files left over and empty folders with nothing in them, filling up the machine and confusing me. So I think it took me about 10 minutes. It probably only took 5. I created a program called RM. Now, I wrote this in MS-DOS about 30 years ago. And all RM does is to allow me to recursively delete things. So it can recursively delete empty folders, or what was the other things? Oh, yeah, graphics, or video files, or compressed files. Now, I'm sure you've done it like me. You download all this stuff from the internet. It comes down in zip files. You have to unzip it, and then you run the app. You don't need the zip file. In some cases, you don't even need the file itself either. So I just forget, leave them, don't bother. All those terabytes seem like a lot of space. Well, they did. And I got all this junk. Now, I could have gone to the internet and I could have bought a file duplication. Oh, that was the other one I did. File duplication or file removal app. There's lots of them on the internet. They're shareware or they're free. Doesn't matter. Either way, it's 99 times out of 100 possible that they're going to have some sort of tool that's sneaking around and hacking your machine or sending nefarious information about your data to some bloke in Russia or China or some board script kiddie in London. You don't know. But of course, if you write the app yourself using your Claude or your AI, you get exactly the app you want. Actually, you do get exactly the app you want, because I forgot. And I've forgotten what I forgot. When I did the images, oh yes, that's it, GIF. I forgot about GIF files. So when I told my AI, which was behaving itself and following my instructions to the letter, and I said, okay, I now want to add rm/i. And when I use rm/i, I want you to recursively remove the images from the folders. I want the JPEGs removed and I want the PNGs removed. So what did it do? It removed the JPEGs and the PNGs from those folders recursively. Except I'd forgotten to mention GIFs files. And because it was in do what you're told mode, it didn't remove the GIFs. So I had to go back and ask it. And that's why I think it took me 10 minutes rather than the 5, which it took me to get the first version. Why? I think it took me 10 minutes to write this program, all the bits. Because again, I think I forgot 7-zip when I asked for the compressed files. I remembered the zip files. I forgot the 7 zips. But it was fine because I just said, please add this. And I now have my own RM program, which I'm mad enough to trust to my own hard disk. Oh, yes, I did start with the option. Don't delete these, just put them in the bin so I could recover the ones I really did want after all. I've done a dedupe program. So it looks for duplicate files. Because look, let's be honest, once we start saving images and whatever, we end up leaving them in loads of places, don't we? So I've got a dedupe program running. In fact, it's running on a, let's just say a very large terabyte drive downstairs at the moment in my downstairs office. And it's got 500,000 files. Out of that, I think it found something like 10% of them, 50,000, as files which are the same length. That's the first level of, and it's now got to go through those files which it's seen as the same length and see if they are the same file or just coincidentally 2 files which turn out to be the same length. And I didn't give it an expensive machine. It's running on a base laptop, so it is taking its time. Taking its time? It started last night. It's just churning through slowly but surely. But it doesn't matter. It's doing the job. It's an AI program doing the job. And I've not used one of those dedupe services, which I would have used, what, 4 or 5 years ago to do the same thing, which then spies on my machine tries to read my passwords, bundles in and starts running adverts and pop-ups and other apps. And Dell, I'm not very impressed with you trying to sell me stuff on a laptop, which I just reset after 7 years of faithful work. You've tried to get me to use McAfee from years ago. Don't. It's rude. You made enough money out of me buying some monitors. You didn't need to go and make more money out of me trying to sell me ads. I don't like it. I don't want it. I won't have it, as my headmaster would say. So yes, Juju, Hot Wheels Adventure, definitely. I am finding more and more uses for my AI, do those little tools and things. And the last thing I want to say is, once you have an AI that can do things in a repeatable process, that's when you can start talking about AI agents. But crikey, my brain is worn out. Our time is coming to an end, and there's no way I'm going to take on that process in 3 minutes. So, Mike, I'm relieved to know that you also use AI. I think I mentioned that I'm using AI for programming at one of our programming meets this week.
You did
And
indeed.
I think I got a reasonably positive response that I was doing what the Zoom guys thought was a good idea, and I got some positive feedback there. So I don't
You
feel
got
that I'm in a
encouragement.
box.
You did.
Yes, encouragement. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm feeling quite confident now to encourage you guys that you may want to do something. In fact, Mike's already spotted it. I am going to start a monthly AI only webinar. Yep, another one. This is the problem, you see. Once you start asking AI, what events can I do? It's now given me a list of 30 productions for this particular show. It's also told me, oh, but John, production professionals, there's two types. There's the production professionals who do the tech, which is really what this show is about. But there's also the production professionals who just turn up and use the tech, and they do all the marketing and things. And really, here's a whole load of ideas that they should be doing. So we're now going to have a twin show somehow that's going to work with this show to do that. And thank you, Juju thinks that's funny, and it probably is. And then, of course, we need a show about AI to just talk about the AI stuff for those people that want to do the AI, and not forgetting my promise, my very, very, very vague promise, but being held to it, that we think we know enough now about software development and using AI with software development. We can actually put together a reasonable show about that, because quite frankly, the people that I've been watching to learn about this AI, I'm trying to think of a polite way to put this. Let's just say they are quite shallow in the way they are addressing the issues. I don't see anybody going very deep into the subject. And I've even been rash enough to get my credit card out a few times and buy a few memberships. And none of the memberships I have renewed beyond the first week or month that or the free offer that they've given me. Because again, I found, I think I'll stick to that phrase. I found their explanation very shallow. And I would prefer to get very specific about how to code for a specific thing to do a specific do. Maybe I'll even do a show on how my dedupe program works, and maybe I'll do one on how my RM program works, because they are quite nice tools. And as I think you probably noticed, I'm fed up with people who release tools as freeware or shareware and then think they want to make twice as much money out of it by selling my personal info. But Mike, that is well, I think that's a summation of what the both of us are really trying to use AI now for organizing our work, for researching our work, for bringing the data in and giving a sort of I don't know, a double check on where we are doing things, producing standard operating procedures. If you're not doing it now, I would suggest you have a go. And you are still the expert. But it's always interesting to see what happens when your expertise is put into the words of an AI and what extra bits an AI might suggest. Yeah. Because even people like me can forget the names of all the image formats. So
Yeah,
what else?
it's all about the little nuggets that all of a sudden they'll, that we'll find. And this actually is a good segue into Tony's final question for us before we wrap up. He says to me, I found even premium Gemini giving unreliable answers much more frequently than GPT or Claude. What have you found? Go ahead, Johnny. You start first.
I'm not going to give specifics because it really depends on what you're asking them. I certainly agree that their knowledge bases are different. And I also totally agree that that the way they approach giving answers does seem to be different. And this is why, if you have the budget or the time, it is quite interesting to double date and to ask similar questions of multiple AIs, or take the conclusions of one AI and then give it for reprocessing by another one. And then I think it's quite interesting. And this is not a, okay, you're double dating and they don't like that, but this is not completely wrong, because if you have a look or a dig into a lot of the AIs, they will tell you that they are general AIs, or they might be I don't know what the word is now, but it's something like a collection of experts or something. I can't remember what the collective noun is, but it'll be a collection of experts. Or there are other AIs which are specifically trying to be an expert in a particular thing. For instance, if you want to do a video creation or an image creation, there are AIs out there specifically designed to understand how to do those AI questions of building a video or making an image. If you ask them another question, they're not going to be so good, but they have the knowledge in doing that. So yeah, I wouldn't say I've got one preference over another completely at the moment. I've tried a few of these Chinese ones, which again are quite interesting, although a lot of the Chinese ones seem to be trained by reading what the Americans ones know. So they're not creating new data, they're just regurgitating and redefining data themselves. But yeah, I would certainly say ask different AIs. Find which AI asks, you can ask the question in a particular subject that you get the best answers for. And then there's always the chance to give one answer to another AI and get it to just ask it if it's got any views on the answer, or if it's got any other ideas around the answer. And then you'll get maybe a few nuggets that it can think of the other one didn't, or didn't think was important. So yeah, I totally agree, but I have no way of explaining what would be better for a particular person. I can only explain what works for me. That's my slightly helpful but slightly nebulous answer. Mike, have you got something better?
Well, let me throw it to you this way. So basically, and I'll do a quick little production studio stuff here. There we go. So when it comes to comparing between Gemini and GPT and Claude, I haven't played as much with Claude. John's played more with Claude than I have. When it comes to ChatGPT, I have played with that ever since it was launched. And I am getting more into Gemini more often. So that would be me finally double dating ChatGPT to Gemini. So when it comes to how I test the AIs to make sure that I get the right answer is I test them on a specific topic that I know for sure the 100% the right answer is. And I make sure that from there I go, okay, ask the question to each AI, get the answer back. Is it right the first time? And if it is right the first time, great. You got a little more cred in my mind that, okay, let's say Gemini was right the first time and ChatGPT was wrong. Then Gemini, I know, will going forward have no problem if I ask in that certain realm of that certain topic that I know 100% Gemini AI got it right the first time. I'll go back to Gemini. If ChatGPT gave it to me and Gemini didn't, then again, ChatGPT would then get the credit from me in my own mind remembering right now it's sort of, this is where the double dating comes into play. And again, you have to use your own sort of market system. Think of it as not only are they teaching you, but you're also teaching them, meaning that you are teaching them to actually figure out, are you really giving me the right answer? And are they confident with their answer too? So again, if you're taking a school situation where the teacher taught the class, then all of a sudden you go up to that student, say, hey, Mike, hey, Johnny, did you understand what I was talking about today? And quiz them so that you can get a couple of nuggets coming back from that student to make sure that those nuggets are enough that it makes sense. Then yes, that's sort of what I've been doing a bit with as I'm double dating, if not triple dating. And this, and Tony, you're triple dating. That's impressive. Or got triple friends. You got friends in right places. Anyways, so yes. So when it comes to the different AIs, that is what I'm currently doing, and I'm currently rating them myself as, okay, Gemini, you're better at this. Claude, you're better at that, and of course, ChatGPT, you're better at that. So that's what I've been doing to make sure that each individual, I'm getting the best results from the best AI systems out there right now. I am finding I'm getting better results from Gemini than I am from ChatGPT lately. I don't know what they've done lately to modify things, but it seems to be not great for the questions that I'm asking. Right, the tasks that I'm asking AI to do, ChatGPT is getting less cred for me, where it had a lot more cred until I started going to Gemini, realizing that Gemini does things quite differently than ChatGPT. We'll take those two for those being my double dates, and ChatGPT only doing X amount and seems to be a lot slower because, again, a lot of people are using ChatGPT a little more than Gemini. I'm finding these are all my personal results. And with Gemini, I'm finding a lot more that the information that I'm getting back, I can tell it more, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, until I tell you, you can do it. And I'm finding that I'm getting a lot better results in that regard. How's that, Johnny?
That's good. The don't is a very good thing to mention. I quite often say to my coding plan, to my coding AI, let's just plan for a moment. And I have to watch it, because if the conversation then goes on 2 or 3 steps, it will ask me a question about what I've asked it to code. And then I give it the answer and it goes, oh, well, I think I'll code now. And off it goes. Stop! Because I haven't finished doing the plan yet. And it gets eager and off it goes and starts trying to code.
Yeah. So I've found Gemini to be the most obedient for me right now. You think of it as you are training. I will go down to this level too. If you really want to give a hypothetical, you're training a dog. You're telling the dog to sit and stay there. And the dog's, if it's going to be like a good hunting dog, right? You're training that dog to sit there, don't move until I say, go, go get that bird that I just shut down. Go, right? As an example, if it was a bird hunting dog. So there are, again, different ways you can actually do this type of stuff, but that is a very way of like, stay here and do stuff like that. Oh, and Mr. Franklin's even saying that Gemini's been good to him too. There you go. Exactly. So that's good feedback in that too. And Tony's just saying, when I asked Gemini if it would ever be as accurate as GPT or Cloud. Okay, this is interesting. It gave me a long list of why it would never be as accurate.
Yeah.
Interesting.
AI just loves to please people. So
Yes.
probably the analogy with a dog is very good. But by the way, we don't support or condone people shooting birds with and hunting
No.
with dogs.
No.
I'm impressed that you think of your AI as a dog. I think more like mine is more like a fish, because after 7 seconds it forgets what I say and starts again.
Interesting.
But yes,
Yeah,
AI is very good at supporting. It doesn't matter what you say to it. You can say, I'm going to write an RM program that's going to crash and wreck my hard drive. And it will quite happily say, yes, John, let's make it right. Let's make it. Would you like me to do some random sector deletes as well to really corrupt your hard disk for you? And it will do it.
Oh, yeah. It will. It doesn't know better, right?
It will always please you until you decide that that's what you don't want to do. And then it will do, like a double date, it will do an about face and support you again in completely the opposite direction.
There's a good segue.
Yeah, the dog analogy
There's a
could be
good
worse.
Yeah, that was a good one. And Mr. Franklin says they all have disclaimers. Yes, they all do have disclaimers that
Yep,
the information
so
that
do
we
I.
might be giving is not accurate.
I have a disclaimer. I'm just an old bloke sitting in a house that's bored and decided to do a webinar for you. I am not a representative of Zoom or Facebook or YouTube or anybody else. I'm only a representative, a very poor representative of myself. And if anyone can let me know how I can get my brain and my time clock back to waking up before lunchtime and going to bed before 5 a.m., which at this time of the year means that the sun is coming out and the birds are coming down just as I'm going to sleep. However, working at night's a lot cooler with all these heat waves. So maybe there is a slight silver lining to my cloud. But I am diversifying, I'm digressing, and I am just about faffing around long enough while Mike finds the closing credits, because we all know that's what he's doing. Thank you for this instructive conversation, I hope. If it wasn't, then I suggest you take the output of the text and give it to your AI so it can produce you a good summary. As we know in the world of Zoom, AI is getting really good now at doing summaries of presentations and webinars. It's a tool I've used. I've even recorded other people's webinars, not listened to them, just recorded them and given it straight over to my AI so I get a summary and I don't have to watch them at all. Please don't do that for my presentation. I like people to be live and answer me and ask things. So thank you. Let's Do Video for congratulating us on the show. And for those that are curious, I think I've published the next 10 weeks worth of content. As I said, my AI has already given me the next 30 weeks of content and another show to add to this to pair up. Maybe I'll ignore it, or maybe I will just run the marketing shows on Monday. We'll see. But for today, for tonight, for this morning, wherever you are, whenever you hear this or listen to this, it was the summer of 2026 when we recorded this. It could be whenever, when you watched it. Maybe AI's taken over and they're now going to report me for what I've said here. But otherwise, from Mike and myself, John, that is all we have for today. Thank you very much for listening. And the final AI tribute is our AI generated and AI recorded song to close us out. After these words from Mike.
And as we usually say on YouTube, we wouldn't be a true YouTube influencer if you don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to let YouTube know how much you love our content. Don't forget to join us here every week on Friday from noon Eastern, so 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and check your local time zone to match up to those times. And don't forget, we're here every Friday at those times, and we'll see everyone next week for another really interesting edition of the Production Professionals Power Hour. And I'm making sure, as John says, I hit the right button. See you next week, everybody.
Lights go up and the cameras roll. Voice is clear and we're in control. Screens are live and the signals flow. Welcome to the place where the pros all go. Talking gear and the tools we trust. What works well and what gathers dust. From the studio floor to the online stage, we bring the knowledge page by page. Live or hybrid, in room or remote. Every shot and every note. Better systems, sharper sound. This is where the best is found. It's the Production Professionals Power Hour. Building better shows with skill and power. Live hybrid, online too. Sharing what the experts do. Hardware, software, tested live. Helping every production thrive. Step inside the futures now. Welcome to the Power Hour. Switches, streaming, mics and light, making every moment land just right. Guests and makers join the conversation, bringing insight, crafting innovation. From the first idea to the final frame, every tool can change the game. Manufacturers, pros and brands, sharing real solutions firsthand. Live or hybrid, in room or remote. Every cue and every note. Smarter workflow, stronger shows. That's the way the power grows. It's the Production Professionals Power Hour. Building better shows with skill and power. Live hybrid, online too. Sharing what the experts do. Hardware, software, tested live. Helping every production thrive. Step inside the futures now. Welcome to the Power Hour. When the pressure's on, we raise the game. New ideas and trusted names. Every week another view. Fresh tech, fresh talk. Something new.